Virtus in Verdate, welcome to FortiKast, sharing good vibes and bring the Mariner community together every Friday 5 p.m. In this episode, we take a look at our famous historical figures, not as heroes, but as people. Please welcome your hosts, Anton Encarnacion and Miggy de la Cruz.
Hello,
Alright,
guys.
good day, 40 viewers!
Good
And if it's your
Friday.
first time, hello, welcome to the show. If it's not your first time though, well, you know how this works. I'm excited for this episode and I hope you guys are too. If you're as excited as I am, please comment down below who is your favorite historical figure, aka who is your favorite famous dead person. We will check up on those in a bit, but first, let me check up on my boy here. So, Anton, how was your week?
Oh, well, uh, earlier, I want to share with the audience that earlier we had a debate, me and Miggy. It got very heated, but very enjoyable. That was the highlight of the week. A great way to end to start the Friday and the week. Again, a lot of PTs. No, can't avoid it. It's almost Christmas season, so I can understand. But yeah, so how about you, Miggy? How's your week?
Well, my week was pretty great actually. Wednesday was a particularly fun day. For one, I got my second dose of the vaccine already, so that means I got to skip school on that day. Also, I found nesting in the spam folder of my emails the email from my dream college telling me that I passed to the next step on getting a scholarship. So please pray for me with that, guys. And let's see. Thursday wasn't super fun. I had a fever because of the vaccine, so there was that. But then again, I gotta skip school again. So, and then this Friday, yeah, highlight of the week was um, Mis- Mr. Fietas was gonna show up later. He had us have the debate, which
Mm-hmm.
yes, I sounded mad, so I'm sorry for that. I wasn't mad. You know how I
It's
talk.
all right.
And
It was an
also,
interesting debate. We had an
yeah.
interesting topic.
Although I still want to know, sir, who won the debate because I want to know if I still remain undefeated or if that debate is historical for being my first defeat. Anyway,
I guess we'll find out one day. Ah,
speaking of historical, let's check out the comments for any famous dead person that they want to share. I don't know who Poggers is, but I guess he's pretty famous. I hear about that guy a lot for some reason lately. Whoever he is, must have been great at something. I don't know.
stay
And
hydrated, man.
oh, hey, my cousin's over here. Hi, and of
Hello.
course, loyal loyal viewer is Sugar, and then boom, there we go.
Top
Thank you,
fan.
Sugar, for the favorite dead. Oh,
Whew. Chopin, Da Vinci, Liszt. Amen. Your taste.
all all great people. One, if I could ask, how about you, Anton? Who's your favorite dead guy? Should I keep saying
Um,
that?
yeah, I guess that's the theme of this episode. So let's say favorite dead guy. Let's see. Is it strictly Filipino or not strictly Filipino?
Not strictly. You could go with anyone.
Actually, I don't have a favorite dead guy, but like I guess um one dead person I gosh, it sounds so weird. One dead person that I admire, I guess it's like huh, that's kind of hard actually. There are a lot of
Okay.
nice historical people. Like in the
Okay.
background you see Luna and Rizal, like very key amazing people. I would say Luna, but I don't like his intricate language. Like he makes cursing an art. Like you saw in the if you guys saw the movie Henry Luna, it's
I haven't
interesting
though.
how they depicted it. So I think well Luna is one of my um favorite dead guys because of course we share a name, Antonio, but he's also a brilliant strategist. Like that's I admire that a lot about him. And Rizal on the other hand, he knows like 20 plus languages, which is like a goal. I mean, I don't think I can get to speak 20 plus languages. Maybe six. That's already a lot for me. How about you, Miggy? Who's your favorite dead guy?
Well, first off, when you talk about the movie, I haven't seen it, but I think my sister has, and I think the one scene she always remembers is, I'm not sure. Correct me if I'm wrong. Something about a cannonball bouncing and chopping off a guy's head.
Yes, it's very gory for people who have like if you have a weak stomach. I don't recommend it. You'll it's
Okay,
not
but anyway, I
pleasant.
think my favorite would be C.S. Lewis. He's pretty much
Oh
a model for what I want to do in life. He's a writer, so that's that.
yes,
And if we're gonna go strictly Filipino, well, I go with the writer again. Wrong, wrong. There we go. And oh, so more people have showed their person. So Scrags 23 favorite historical person is Jesus, not
Jesus.
dead, but anyway, share
Hey,
the joy. Register
hey.
for JCL, please.
I
Thank you
like that.
very
I
much.
like that. Thank you for
Okay. Anyway,
promoting.
so why do you think this episode is important? Because I know that some people don't really like history. So why do you think so? Before we
Well,
move
for
on to
me,
in
I'm
focus.
interested to see how this episode turns out because
Mm-hmm.
we're not going to discuss like, oh, who was this person? What was his, how was he
What was his
contributed? Yeah, what did he
contribution to
contribute?
society?
Yes. That's not the topic for today. That's why I'm really excited because we're gonna be discussing how they were as a person, not like
Yes.
a hero. Because who knows? Maybe like if you don't know General Luna as a hero, you're gonna be like, oh my gosh, he's so cool. He's a strategist. He's brilliant. But then once you look at his personal life, he curses a lot. Oh no, not a good role model. But
Like.
it's just a very different perspective from what we're used to, like in school or you
Mm-hmm.
know, in normal conversation. So, how about you, Miggy? What's the highlight of this? What do you think is gonna be the highlight of this episode?
Yeah, that's the thing. What I've heard is the importance of history is because we only meet so many people in our lives, but we need role models. And so, by
That's
learning
true.
about the great men and women of his in the past, we get our role models. But again, just like the topic of this episode, we will really want to examine who they are even further. So, I think, without further ado, I think we could finally move in focus. Okay, here we go. And for those who are not who are first time viewers in the show, the hour in focus simply means that we are going to delve even deeper into the topic with our guest. And since our site is scrolling over there, I just want to remind everyone to please stick around till the end because we have a very important announcement later. But more on that in a bit. It's time to introduce the legendary people that we have in store for you guys. So the first is a FortiKast alumni who is returning once again out of his love for the show. Please give it up for Boss Atom Pesa.
Woo! Cheer in the comments.
Atom. There we go.
Hello,
Yes.
Mr. Peza.
Hi guys. Hi guys. How are you guys doing?
We're all right. we're
All right.
alright.
Okay, sorry.
No, 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 no. It's all right. I was just gonna say transitioning into college, doing all the applications. Whew, it's an interesting experience. Like wow.
Okay, sige. Atom's been there. So next
Been there, done
up,
that.
we have our history social studies teacher who also I still want to know who won the debate, sir. Anyway, please give it up for Mr. Mark Andrew Pietas.
Let's go. Hello po, sir.
Hi Migis, hi Anton, hi Anton. Yeah.
Oh no. Oh no.
So Anton, and Miggy. Okay,
Yes, sir.
so
Anton Miguel, Miguel Antonio, and Jose Maria Miguel.
Oh
Anyway.
no,
yeah.
no. Oh my gosh. And it makes it even more complicated.
Okay,
Anyway,
so before we get started, of course, the usual. How was your week?
let's start with Sir Fiatas. How was
Okay,
your week, sir?
so medyo busy pero actually masaya naman kasi the highlights of yung week natin is yung debate, di ba? Pero I cannot divulge here kung sino nanalo sa debate kasi nga baka alam niyo na medyo, di ba? confidential na lang yung nanalo sa debate. But it was really a very informative, okay? Medyo mainit, pero in the end naman,
Mhm.
it's more on learning naman, di ba? In the end, it's the learning that counts more, di ba? So, walang nanalo, walang natalo, okay? Ang nanalo, lahat tayo nanalo kasi lahat natuto,
Mm,
di ba?
that's fair. Anyway, so Anton Pesa, how
That's
about
fair.
you?
For me, my week's been okay. What do you call that? Well, we're almost close to finals week, so the workload is starting to pile up, and um, I didn't sleep that well a while ago. And considering that, we have a lot of deadlines next week, I made the effort to finish my deadlines today already, so like I can rest over the weekend. So I finished a paper in political science asking the question of in what ways is political science useful in apprehending different social realities? So I was able to answer a paper. Gladly, I didn't reach 1,000 words because in my previous papers, I tended to be one word before the max, like one word under the max. So this
Mm.
time I made mine. I made the conscious effort to make it shorter than usual. So yeah, thanks guys.
Okay, so before we get started on learning more about the famous faces that we are now blocking, I want to know what do you guys think? I know both of you teach history. I know both of you love history. So I want to know why do you think history is important?
So, me
Um,
first.
okay, sir, go
O,
ahead.
sige. So, sa akin, importante yung kasaysayan kasi nga una, di ba? Lahat naman ngayon, problema yung ating mga fake news. And then siguro,
Mm-hmm.
ang history lang, mga kasaysayan, ang medyo disiplina na pwedeng makabigay ng solusyon. At ang pinakamaganda rito, we have to go back to the primary sources. Ano ba yung sinasabi ng mga unang batis sa isang sitwasyon o sa isang kasaysayan? Diba? Hindi naman pwedeng may dalawang totoong history. Okay? So lahat may history pero, diba, dalawang history pero isa lang yung todo. Isa lang yung pwedeng totoo. And then, syempre, it must be supported by evidence, based from primary sources or secondary sources. Or kung wala, pwede namang eyewitness account.
Mm.
Okay?
Okay, so how about you, Atom?
For me personally, I think, well, the main thing that really attracted me to history is the fact that history almost is the foundation in which we all live our lives. We track back to it and it gives us a clear picture of the objectives, the motivations, and reasons of why everything is in motion today. Like why is this existing right now? And it also gives us a clear picture of the mistakes, the things that we can improve on, and that also helps us make decisions that we can benefit from in the future. So it's also helping us communicate things in a certain sense. So my approach to history is more of like us as people, what we can find there. And of course, it's also really fascinating of a subject, learning about different people, and why were these people so great, and how did they change our country, how did they change this certain thing. And I think that's why we all go back to it every single time, whether that be about Caesar. Well, there's different books also that gauges into this subject. So yeah.
All right, so thank you all for those wonderful answers. Now, I think it's time to get to the meat of this subject. And Alfie, why don't you show us who the very first person we're going to talk about is for today? And in um
Three, two,
two, one.
one. Joke lang. All
Okay.
right. So
Anyway,
we're just
so how about
gonna
we just
we're just gonna say the name pala.
okay?
Um,
So
Miggy,
how about we
please
first talk
announce
about the most famous man himself, Jose Rizal?
the infamous. So maybe we can start with Peza. What are your thoughts on Rizal?
I think we all have a big admiration because of him, because he's a national hero. He wrote Noli El Fili, and obviously he was one of the biggest faces of the revolution. We all know that, but I think for me, me personally, one of his most admirable act is really utilizing his opportunities in order to help the country. It wasn't necessarily the fact that he was so genius. He wrote these books and stuff. Firstly, not everyone was rich and gifted with opportunities like him to be
Mhm.
educated, to be
Mm.
able to go outside the country, and get receive education there. So with Rizal, he came from a wealthy family, as we all know, and I think it's really reflected in the books that we read in history class. And you see that, what do you call that, he was able to engage in education in UST and Ateneo. He took medicine, then he was able to take
Very
other
nice.
courses which helped him grow a national consciousness. But he really wanted to delve deeper into the different practices that other countries had. So he traveled to Madrid and received education there. And he realized, and he was able to engage in different practices from other countries, different things they do. And that really grew his nationalism and his national consciousness. And the difference between everybody was that, a lot of the Filipinos just really used that opportunity to really grow themselves. But he really took that chance to grow himself, but also grow in the same time help the Filipinos. You saw it reflected when he joined the La Solidaridad, writing papers for them, and he wrote Noli, he wrote El Fili. And I think, fun fact, actually, this is my favorite fun fact that I learned in history, and I attended a seminar last month. But Rizal is actually a competent fencing fighter and a shooter. So technically, people actually kind of discriminated him because he was really small. I can't remember exactly his height, but he was barely 5 feet. So, people in Madrid actually, made fun of them, not only because he was small, but because they were Filipinos and they were really out of the norm. So they used fencing, their skills in fencing and shooting, to show that it was like their empathic rebuttal, saying that we also have skills, we are also capable. And I think that also helped them grow a national consciousness in the process. And of course, I think, just to sum it up, like, to me as a person, we knew that he was a hero, he was a writer, he was a doctor, he was really all those stuff. But as we all say, he's really human, and we can also trace some flaws, whether that be him, being having a very nationalist orientation. Even if, being a nationalist is really good, sometimes it kind of made him a little bit close-minded in terms of the way he approached things. But that's okay, because during that time there needed to be someone with that kind of mindset. And we also have to realize that Rizal was a lover. He had a lot of relationships. I think people, I think,
Emphasis
because
on
we
a
talk
lot.
about Pedro Pilar and he had a film, we realize, oh, this guy, like, had relationships all around town. But Rizal had like more than 10 relationships, if you didn't know that.
All around the
So,
globe.
in as much as, like, we see him as like that statue there who really did great things, we can also find that he was just like us. He had the same struggles as us, but he really utilized the opportunities and worked hard in order to make a difference for himself and for the people around him. And that's what makes him so admirable in my point of view.
I mean, who wouldn't fall for that face? Anyway, so Sir Pietas, how about you? What can you say about Rizal?
Actually, siya siya, kaya medyo sikat siya. Kasi nga, una, national hero. Pero kung titignan natin yung kanyang personal na buhay, actually sabi nga ni Anton, Rizal was just for 11, di ba? For 11 lang siya. Kaya kung titignan mo yung chaleco niya sa bahay niya sa Laguna, isipin niyan, medyo maliit lang talaga si Rizal for 11, di ba? At yung kanyang ulo, yung kanyang katawan, hindi siya pantay. Malaki yung kanyang ulo, pero maliit yung kanyang katawan. Kaya nga nung si Rizal pinanganak ng kanyang nanay, di ba? Ni Doña Alonso, di ba? So, yung kanyang nanay kailangan pang magdasal kay Birhing Maria para mailabas si Rizal ng normal. Kasi ang laki ng ulo ni Rizal. So talagang yung pag yung pag-ire ng nanay niya kasama yung dasal kay Birhen Maria para mailuwal ng matiwasay si Rizal kasi sobrang laki ng ulo niya. At syempre lumakas si Rizal na medyo patpatin siya, di ba? Malaki ang ulo niya pero patpatin siya. Kaya lagi siyang nabubuli. Kaya nagkaroon siya ng interest sa eskrima. Yung parang medyo, para hindi siya bulihin, nagkaroon siya ng interest sa eskrima. And then, syempre,
Mm.
ayan na, medyo lumaki na siya. Sabi nga nandun, marami siya naging girlfriend. Actually, based from my, kung tama yung pagkakaalala ko, he has 11 girlfriends. Naging 11, almost 11. Including yung si Segunda Katigbak na unang girlfriend niya. So, pero ano yun, parang puppy love lang naman yan. Second year high school pa lang si Rizal noon. So, parang medyo hindi pa dagang girlfriend niya. Okay? So, and then kaya sikat si Rizal kasi nga, una, talagang aral. Aral siya. Nag-aral siya sa Europa, and then sikat din yung kanyang libro, nobela na No Limit ang Here at El Filibusterismo. And then, pero kung titingnan natin, yung si Rizal, normal na tao din. Di ba? Nagagalit, nalulungkot, umiiyak. Actually, nung mamatay yung kanyang anak sa dapitan, talagang he really cried a lot. Parang sinisi nga minsan ang Diyos dun sa pagkakataon. Bakit namatay yung anak ko? And then, in fact, yung kanyang si Josephine Bracken, di ba? Na naging asawa niya, ayaw ng mga nanay at kapatid ni Rizal. Kaya nga parang si Rizal, nung nasa dapitan siya, parang sabi niya, ano kayang gagawin ko rito? Ayaw ng mga magulang ko sa girlfriend ko. Okay? Na naging asawa niya in the end before he died. So, si Josephine Bracken nagpapadala pa ng mga bagoong, di ba? Nagpapadala pa ng mga bagoong sa Manila sa kanyang nanay ni Rizal at sa kapatid ni Rizal. Pero hindi talaga gusto ng mga kapatid ni Rizal at yung nanay ni Rizal si Josephine Bracken. Kasi nga parang sinasabi nila na baka ito ay espiya ng Espanya para kay Rizal. So, si Rizal naman, hindi niya ano to, parang mailagay yung sarili niya kung sinong pipili niya, sa kanyang girlfriend ba o sa mga kapatid niya. So, medyo nalulungkot din. Bakit yun nangyari? Bakit hindi kayang unawain ng kanyang mga magulang si Josephine Bracken at siya. So, at syempre, dahil alam naman natin na binaril siya sa dapitan, di ba? And then, doon siya kinasal kay Josephine Bracken bago siya mamatay. Actually, he confessed, and then before he died, before he was executed, he asked the priest that Josephine Bracken and him parang ikasal sila in the Catholic Church. So, gano'n nangyari. So,
Ac-
taong-tao, di ba? Parang taong-tao si Rizal. Hindi siya superhuman. Siguro kailangan natin makita yung kanyang konteksto para makita natin, maunawa natin bakit ito yung kinikilos ni Rizal, bakit ito yung ginawa niya. Para makita natin yun, unawain natin yung kanyang pagkatao, yung kanyang psyche, para mas lalo natin malubos na maintindihan si Rizal.
Actually, on that note of him confessing before he died, okay, I have a faint memory, but it's getting a little foggy, so maybe you could just fact check if possible. My dad knew a priest who had like the original, like the letters of Rizal, and in one of the final letters, right before he died, he confessed, right? And it's because many people also know that Rizal, along with many of our other famous heroes, are Masons. But turns out he actually changed that right before he died. So just wanted to add that in. So,
Yeah. Sir Kitan, I remember Sir Kitan discussing it to us. Thank you, Sir
mhm.
Kitan. If you're watching, he he said that he denounced his Freemasonry just before he died, and then he had a confession, and he had a rosary, I think, before he died or while he was while he was gonna die. So it shows you how in his last moments, it's like, wow,
He still knew what was
he
important.
converted.
So
Yeah. So it's like it's amazing. It's admirable for someone to do that, like last minute, literally last minute. But
so
yeah,
yeah,
Rizal,
and
an amazing hero, an
a flawed
amazing
human
person.
definitely.
Just he had a lot. Like, I didn't know he had 11 girlfriends. Wow, that's literally collect and then select. But that's he had. Peza said earlier that like Goyo, I think, had girlfriends all over the town. Rizal had all over the world. Like, it's kind of amazing to think about it. And I remember this one story of Rizal when he was in Japan. The reason why he learned Japanese was because the little kids were making fun of him because he couldn't say anything in Japanese. He couldn't understand anything, so the kids were like, "Ah." He's like they were calling him like, "Oh, you don't know anything." So he learned Japanese mainly because of that. I think that's how he learned Japanese. It's kind of funny, like even a national hero can get affected by the teasing of little kids. All right, so I guess
Oh
we can
yeah,
move on to the next hero.
but yeah, Rizal, I really admire him for being a writer and for dying for his beliefs. But also at the same time, I kind of wish I could be as popular with the ladies as he would because I'm a writer. But hey, I don't want to have 11 girlfriends, man. So next up, we have this new fellow over here, Andres Bonifacio. So, Sir Fietas, why don't you go first this time? Tell us what you know about this guy.
Okay, so this is the only picture that Bonifacio had, di ba? So ito lang ata yung extant picture ni Bonifacio. Kasi minsan, di ba, kilala natin si Bonifacio na naka-chaleco, di ba? Yung parang naka-postura na naka-white shirt, kamisyon chino, tapos yung kanyang pantalon nakapantaas, di ba? That's the usual image that we had with this guy, si Andres Bonifacio. Pero hindi siya ganoon talaga hindi naman mahirap si Bonifacio, di ba? Actually, yung kanyang tatay is kabese di barangay sa Tondo. And yung kanyang nanay, maganda rin yung trabaho sa paggawaan ng tabako. So, sinasabi natin na si Bonifacio, 'di ba, nagtinda siya ng mga pamaypay, kasama niya pa yung mga kapatid, 'di ba? Kasi sinasabi natin si Bonifacio maagang naulila, bata pa lang namatay yung kanyang mga magulang, pero hindi totoo 'yon. Actually, his parents died when he was 21 years old already. Yeah, a young adult, 21 years old. And then sabi ng mga researcher, talagang entrepreneurship minded si Bonifacio din yung kanyang mga kapatid. Kaya nga kahit namatay yung kanyang mga magulang, parang tuloy-tuloy pa rin yung buhay nila. Okay? Tuloy-tuloy pa rin yung buhay nila. And then ang maganda ka lang kay Bonifacio kahit hindi siya actually he had a tutor before nung maliit pa siya kasi nga medyo may kaya naman sila. May kaya naman talaga sila. Hindi sila yung mahirap. And actually, Bonifacio is not a pure Indio. Hindi siya purong Indio. Kasi yung kanyang nanay is a Spanish mestiza. Kaya Bonifacio somehow knew how to speak Spanish. He can even read Spanish. He can write Spanish. Okay? So, ang ano lang kay Bonifacio, kahit hindi siya gano'n nakapag-aral, kasi nga, medyo naano siya sa pagtrabaho, hindi na siya gaanong nakapag-aral. Okay? Pero, matalino siya. Okay? Kung titin natin yung mga libro na binabasa ni Bonifacio, French Revolution, diba? American President, American Revolution. And these are all in Spanish. So, ibig sabihin, kahit hindi siya ganun kaaral, matalino si Bonifacio. Makapagsulat ka ng isang tula, di ba? Actually, yung tula ni Rizal na Huling Paalam, siya yung unang nagsalin sa Filipino kasi it was originally written in Spanish. And when Bonifacio, kasi yung kanyang kapatid na si Josefa Rizal, it was given to him by Josefa Rizal. Okay, yung tula. Okay? Actually, yung tula naman talaga yun hindi naman talaga nakasula wala naman talagang pamagat yun yung tula ni Rizal, di ba? Actually, ang unang pamagat nun ang pamagat natin na Huling Paalam kay Mariano Ponce yan, na Last Farewell. Pero yung original na tula, wala talagang pangalan yun, walang pamagat yun. Okay. So, and then it was translated Bonifacio in Tagalog. See? So kung hindi siya matalino, paano niya mailipat sa maisalin sa Filipino, sa Tagalog yung tula. Kaya nga yung pagkakaintindi natin kay Bonifacio na medyo hindi ganun katalino, mahirap, parang Indio, maling imahe ni Bonifacio yun. Okay? Kasi ang totoong Bonifacio ay matalino. Tingnan mo yung kanyang itsura. Hindi naman siya naka-chaleco, di ba? Naka-Amerikana pa siya. Di ba? So, hindi talaga siya, di ba dati naman, yung sa Pilipinas, ang mga pinaka-kilalang tao, yung mga Peninsulares, di ba? Ito yung mga Kastila na pinanganak sa Espanya, tapos mga Insulares, tapos mga Indio, tapos mga Chinoy. So, pag ikaw ay Indio, mababa ang tingin sa'yo. Okay, kaya nga si Bonifacio talagang yung kanyang sarili na ganito, hindi ako gano'n ka ka Indio. May aral din ako, medyo may alam din. Actually, kaya nga siya naging katiwala sa Fleming Company dun sa, 'di ba, sa kanyang nagtatrabuhan. Kasi at ang ganda ng penmanship ni Bonifacio. If you
Mm.
have seen the writings of Bonifacio, talagang hanga kayo sa sulat niya. Ang ganda. Kaya nga siya napili ng maging maging secretary, parang takatiwala. And then kung titingnan natin, etong sila Bonifacio, sila Rizal, sila Antonio Luna, sila Pule o sila Pule na Magbini, saka si si Aguinaldo. Parang they are in the same age, no? Pare-pareho silang edad, halos nagkakalayo edad nila. Tapos pinagtagpo silang apat o lima sa isang sitwasyon, isang pagkakataon. Okay? So, for example, si Bonifacio, naka first time niya makita si Rizal sa Liga Filipina. Okay? So, doon pa lang hangang-hanga na siya kay Rizal. Okay? Siyempre, binasa ni Bonifacio yung kanyang nobela, di ba? Yung El Fil at Noli. Pero nung magsalita si Rizal, nakita niya kung gaano katalino si Rizal nung makita niya. And then nung siya napahanga kay Rizal. Kaya nga, di ba sa Katipunan, si Rizal ay isa sa mga itinuturing na parang iginagalang ng Katipunan.
I think the reason why some people may think of him as not as smart is possibly because they're comparing him to Rizal. Because it's kind of like a very neat way of seeing it, right? The brains and the bronze, the pen and the sword, the fighter, the writer. So I think that's how I always saw it before. But then, yeah,
Yeah.
since I recited a poem written by him for a declaration contest, my costume got all over the place. But anyway, so
Kasi
anyway,
kasi mga Filipino, we used to be yung tinatawag nating binary, di ba? Yung binary system natin. So, pero kung titingnan natin,
mm,
hindi naman dapat natin kinukumpara yung mga bayani na kung sino yung the best, kung sino yung pinakadakila. Kasi lahat naman sila dakila. Okay? Hindi naman dapat natin sabihin na mas dakila si Rizal kay Bonifacio or mas si Bonifacio kay Aguinaldo or kay Luna. So, kasi yung mga bayani, hindi naman talaga nila iniisip yun. Ang kanilang iniisip
yeah.
lang naman talaga kung paano magsilbi. Siya nga pala, ang salitang bayani galing sa Austronesian term na wani. Okay? Wani. Kawani. Ibig sabihin wani. Ang ibig sabihin ng bayani, the word na wani is Austronesian. At sinusugat din to ni Colope K. Santos. Ang wani, ibig sabihin ay mga nilalapitan ng tulong or handang tumulong. Okay?
Mm.
Kaya
Ah.
pag ikaw ay kawani ng gobyerno, ikaw ang dapat ng iyong unang isip ay magsilbi at magtulong. Parang gano'n.
Mm.
Kasi that's an Australian term po. Doon nanggaling yung salitang bayani sa salitang wani.
So yeah, don't compare the heroes. They're just there's no best hero since they're all just humans trying to be the to do the right thing and help as much as they can. So anyway, Atom, you want to add anything?
I think there's not really anything to add because like Sir Pieta's really said everything that he could possibly say. But like really the thing you have to mention talaga is well, Sir also said it that he was well educated
Mm.
with he was well knowledgeable and I think that reflected in not only his writing but also his speeches that he gave. You could tell how articulate he was.
Mm.
Like his speeches were not only very vibrant in terms of how in terms of the language and in terms of how fluid it was, but it was also very attention getting. He really knew how to write. He really knew how to get people along. I think that's why he was really raved about as a general because he knew how to motivate people in the same time. And we all know that he was pretty self-educated. He was in the La Liga Filipina, I think, if I'm not mistaken, and he knew three languages. From what I read, English, Tagalog, and Spanish. And he also read, alongside what Sir Fieta said, he also read Les Miserables. That was like my favorite fun fact because I finished reading Les Miserables and I was like searching for people who actually read it too during the years past. And Andres Bonifacio was actually one of them who read the book. So I was like, whoa! I was like, my hero is very he has so much opportunities. He also read about the presidents of the United States,
I mean,
so like
he
he was
did
really
lead a
he was
revolution,
really
so
taking advantage of like the opportunities he had in terms of getting education. Like the problem was people keep thinking that he was broke because the way that he's pictured or the way that he's depicted in artwork seems like he is not rich at all, but he was like in the middle class, as Sir Fietas mentioned. Like his parents were able to educate him, and even if I think he dropped out, he still continued making sure that he was still educated and still knowledgeable about the things that were happening, and that's how he got through. That's how he read like Noli and Elfidi. He was one of those people who read it.
Well, I think most people have the misconception of thinking that Bonifacio was like he had a lack of education because his parents, like, he was an orphan, his siblings were orphans. I think that's a like that's one of the factors why people say, "Oh, he probably didn't get educated. Oh, he's probably not smart." But I remember like a few years ago, sir, we did the Tapunan ng Lingap by Andres Bonifacio, and that
There.
poem was like one of the most powerful poems that I've ever read or performed. Like, you could feel his emotion in the words on the paper, and you can imagine, like, if when you read that, it's like you're in the revolution. And I want to comment on the revolution also. Like, he was like, he was reading about the French Revolution, the American Civil War, maybe. And I think it's because you couldn't just get like a revolution coach. There are no coaches in that, or especially in that time. Like, oh, here's how you start a revolution. First, da 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 da. Da. So he used all the resources that he could, and that's very cool. Honestly, he took advantage of the revolutions that already happened, and he learned from them. So I think that's also one reason why the KKK was very successful, was one of the most successful revolutionary movements in the Philippines.
Also,
Because
Okay, and then, ay, sige.
on that note, what was I gonna say again? Yeah, the him being poor, meaning he's uneducated. That feels like a leftover mentality from our colonized times.
like a
And
stereotype. Yeah.
yeah, also him reading Les Miserables feels really fitting since again he did lead a revolution, and I can almost like if life was a musical, he'd. Okay, sorry. Anyway, so Sir Fietas, you wanted to say something before we move on?
Yeah, and then siyempre nga, si Bonifacio, di ba? Parang ang kanya kasing ang ating perception, di ba, kino-compare naman siya kay Aguinaldo, di ba, being a good military strategist, di ba? Now, kung titingnan natin yung mga strategies ni Bonifacio bilang isang leader ng ibang sikan, ang una nilang nilusob etong pulbura, di ba, sa may San Juan. At may isang thesis yan, may isang pag-aaral yan, I think sa Philippine Military Academy, yung strategy ni Bonifacio. Then nakita nila, tama naman, maganda naman pala yung strategy na yun. Maganda yung strategy na yun ni Bonifacio. So, hindi talaga siya, wala naman siyang, sabi niya, walang pinanalo ng gera si Bonifacio. Dahil nga siguro dahil outnumbered sila. Okay, outnumbered sila. Actually, nung sila ay pinuntahan nila yung pulbura diyan sa may San Juan, nung una nanalo sila. Pero dahil marami yung nag dumating ng mga sundalong Kastila, maraming namatay sa kanila and then nag-retreat sila. Okay? And then siguro tingnan natin yung buhay pamilya ni Bonifacio, ano? Actually si Bonifacio may dalawang asawa. Yung unang asawa niya namatay and then pangalawang asawa niya si Gregorio de Jesus. Actually, ayaw ng mga magulang ni Gregorio de Jesus kay Bonifacio. Itinago pa si Gregorio de Jesus ng kanyang mga magulang para lang hindi maging asawa si Bonifacio. Kasi Gregorio de Jesus was just 18 years old. 18 years old pa lang. And then being a Mason, ayaw nila kay Bonifacio. Tinago ng mga magulang nila si Gregorio de Jesus. And then after that, nang mamatay si Bonifacio, si Gregorio de Jesus nag-asawa ulit kay Juan Apil, kay na isa ring Katipunero.
Miggy.
Mickey, you're muted.
Oh, I'm so sorry. It's because the dog is so loud outside. I forgot I muted myself. Anyway, so I think we could look at one more person here, since and this one guy I think is like one of the most div- divisive guy. You know,
Also, one of the most controversial guys.
divisive. I think those are the names. Anyway,
Hmm.
so Pili Aguinaldo, Ato, wanna comment?
Mahirap i-comment too. I think it's hard for me to comment because my understanding and my study on Aguinaldo is not there yet. So my
Mm.
my prior material of knowledge comes from the film and my history books, which are very general, broad, and obviously in the films, we knew how Aguinaldo was actually portrayed there. He was a family man. He was a president who was actually trying, but he did some unforgivable things as mentioned in the film. And you know I wanted to really delve into further, was that really true, because uh Henry Luna is a mix, it's a fusion of fictional and non-fictional accounts. So essentially for me, I think I will give this to Serfietas because he might be more knowledgeable than me. Actually, way, way, way more knowledgeable than me with Aguinaldo. Because I might bite someone. I might like tickle someone's heartstring, and he might just get mad at me because he's like, "Oh, you're just being such a biased person." You watching a Luna. You seen that? What do you call that? He tried denying that he planned the execution of Luna, but when he talked with the Secretary of War, he was like, "Oh, pick one, me or Luna. Like Luna or him. Essentially." So like, I'm not going to. I think I can give a great answer to this. So, Sir Fietas.
Okay, so sinasabi natin na Aguinaldo was considered to be the most controversial hero. Kasi actually, ang dami niyang ginawa, di ba? And then, ang pangit lang kay Aguinaldo, ang parang kanyang downside, nabuhos na napakatagal. Di ba? Parang, I think he died at the age of 96. So, First World War, Second World War, American Revolution, naabutan pa niya. I think he died in 1964. So, but before he died, good thing for him that before he died, the Philippine independence was proclaimed, was changed to parang from July 4, naging June 12. And then sabi nga ng yung mga historian na when Aguinaldo learned that Diosdado Macapagal, diba, is changing the date of the Independence Day from July 4 to June 12. Kahit may sakit si Aguinaldo, talagang bumangon at pumunta sa Kawit para mag-celebrate nung anniversary nung June 12, 1898 Independence Day. And then kung titingnan natin si Aguinaldo, bakit kaya ganoon yung kanyang kilos? Bakit kaya medyo may insecurity siya? Parang sabi nila nag-jealousy kay Luna, kay Bonifacio. Kasi at the young age, si Aguinaldo pala, siguro at the young, kasi mayaman. Mayaman sila Aguinaldo. Actually, yung kanyang tatay ang medyo kilala sa kanila. So, bata pa lang si Aguinaldo, parang pinoprotect na siya na maging kasunod ng tatay niya bilang leader ng Kawit. Kaya nga, he, uh, he quitted his studies in Letran at the age of 18, and then naging siya, Kabese Barangay, the youngest Kabese Barangay ng Kawit, si Aguinaldo. Yeah. And then, from there, hindi na siya nakapag-aral. Okay, kaya nga he cannot, si Aguinaldo, he cannot speak English. He can speak Spanish a little. Talagang Tagalog talaga si Aguinaldo. Okay? At ang sama ng penmanship ng Aguinaldo, if you have seen his handwriting, yung kung kay Bonifacio, ang ganda ng handwriting ni Bonifacio, si Aguinaldo, ang sama ng handwriting, parang si Mr. Fietas. Kaya hindi mo mabasa. Pero, sinasabi nga natin na dahil sa kanya, diba, nagkaroon tayo ng independence, diba, nagkaroon tayo ng etong lupang hinirang. Okay? So, sinasabi natin na kahit may mga pagkakamali siya, medyo may mga maling desisyon, pero bayanin pa rin natin matatawag. Actually nga, during the trial kay Bonifacio, he commute the death sentence. Ba? Sabi niya, instead of death, maybe we can only exile Bonifacio. Okay? Pero because of yung kanyang mga general, di ba? Parang he was persuaded na uh, better if we execute the Bonifacio brothers kasi magiging kalaban pa natin yan. And then he ordered the execution of the Bonifacio brothers. Actually, inamin yan sa isang sulat before he died, yung kanyang memoirs, na talagang he ordered the execution. But yung nga sabi ni Anton, bakit yung kay Luna hindi niya matanggap-tanggap ano? Hindi niya matanggap na he the assassination of Luna. Okay? Pero siguro yung nga para just to save the republic, diba? The newly born republic. Hindi niya kayang aminin yun kasi nga syempre yung mga general na loyal kay Luna will revolt against Aguinaldo. So hindi niya na kayang gawin 'to.
I also think, sir, na it's because, of course, he's like, the Philippines at that time was kind of unstable because the government was not there. It was still blooming. It was still developing. So I think as the quote unquote leader of the country at that time, he had a lot of let's say like enemies, so to speak. Like he had a lot of contenders for that position as leader. And I think as a general also, when you plan things, you want your side to win. No general wants to lose. So I think it's also because of that reason why there are so many problems. He ordered the assassination of several people because he wanted to cement his place in as one of the first leaders of the country, and he
Yeah.
wanted, I guess, even if he wanted what's best for the Philippines, I mean, all of us are human. Maybe he made the wrong decision sometimes, like most of our heroes did. But
That is
I
true.
think his is very prominent because he was the on the pedestal as the leader of the country at that time.
Mm.
Yeah.
So
That, that
that's my
that
take
is
on it.
true. That is true. Because what do you call that? I think we think about it. Well, you can see that the reflection of Aguinaldo's like generals. Well, we saw that he really wanted to, solidify his place, but and he tried to, really push the revolution. But sometimes when he needed to take some punishments because of this thing and that, he tended to fall into, like his zone of just being like having biases towards some people, so he didn't execute that punishments that were necessary. So like, and you saw that he was very loyal to people. He brought people that were questionable. I think si Goyo del Pilar was a questionable appointment in general talaga. Like if we think about it, he's a questionable appointment. He's very young. You put him general of one of the big generals of the country, and this man's really young. He's not really that mature yet. So, and you also saw that in like a lot of the things he did, it was really, how do you say this? It was really driven by his motivation, and sometimes it didn't really take into account of the general overview of the country or the general good of the whole picture. But that's what makes him human in the first place. Despite him being such a hero, being this, he was super flawed. And as Anton mentioned, he's stuck in the pedestal. He's the president, the first president, and a lot of the things he did, and a lot of the things that were executed are always going to be in his name because he was the first president, and obviously they had to commit a lot of actions that were very questionable, but I think in their time they believed that it was the best choice for them.
Like a step in the right direction.
Yeah, a step in the right direction.
Yeah, and also given that when Aguinaldo was just 29 years old when he became president. So batang-bata pa talaga siya. So and then hindi pa siya ganoon nakapag-aral kasi nga yung letran dati ano yan, parang secondary school lang siya. Kasi hindi pa talaga siya college. So at the age of 18, he was already exposed to politics, and then at the age of 29, he became president. Ang kanya nakapaligid sa kanya mga Tagalog, taga Manila. He's from Cavite. So parang there's some sort of
Like he needs to
uh,
prove himself, sir.
yeah. And then syempre the advices that he received from these first people, di ba? and he want to preserve his being Caviteño. So ang daming pressure sa kanya at the age of 29. Diba? Bago
Yeah.
pa naman naging presidente, 29 years old, di ba?
He had a lot of critics actually.
Yeah.
Mabini was a critic. That's why, Mabini is one of the most vocal people you could meet during that time. And he was a really big critic of the actions that uh Aguinaldo actually did. And there was a lot of critics around him, but you know, well, as we said, it's what makes him human. He went by with his loyalty towards other people, rather than the rational thought and the rational choice that is supposed to be made.
All right, so I think I would like to talk more about this, but I think we're running out of time. So before we go, I think yeah, I kind of wish we could have talked about more stuff. Maybe we could do this a second part. Maybe we could talk about more people like Mabini, as you mentioned, and Luna. But before we go, I would like to address a comment from my cousin who said you can learn many things from this episode, all about history, even though I don't like history before. So in addressing that, any last words from our guest for today to the people who may not like history, as why history is such an important and interesting topic, and also maybe for fellow history enthusiasts to encourage them. Maybe we could start with Mr. Fiatas.
Okay. So, syempre, 'di ba, ang history naman sa school natin or sa ibang tao hindi talaga ganoon ka-popular. Okay? Actually, boring subject nga 'yan. So, uh, if you're a historian or a history teacher, you're supposed to be a good storyteller. Diba? Dapat magaling kang
Mm.
mag-storyteller.
Mhm,
Ah,
mhm.
kaya nga ang approach ko sa history is kwento, 'di ba? Pagkukuwento. Kasi from there, yung mga bata yung pagsasalaysay ng parang you're just telling a story to young kids, 'di ba? And then ito nangyari. And then syempre, yung activities dapat, 'di ba? Kailangan yung mga bata, kailangan engage sila sa mga activities para hindi rin sila maboring na ito palang history, ito puro memorization lang. Kailangan may activity, dapat may first hand experience sila kung paano nangyari. Okay? Kaya nga when I was grade 5 history teacher nila Anton, ang dami nila Anton, reincarnation, ang dami namin mga activity. Yung mga parents nagreklamo na sa akin dati na bakit daw ganito yung pinagagawa ni Mr. Fiata sa mga estudyante niya. And then even the parents, ini-engage ko sila kasi I I I required them to go to a library, a museum, and then to go with the parents. So, yung mga parents, at least na-engage din sila. Okay. So, parang from there, we can somehow motivate the students, di ba? Para, hindi naman para maging first love nila yung history, pero at least mabago yung kanilang perception about history. Ng history, hindi lang puro memorization, hindi lang puro ganito, di ba? You can learn from there. It's a life experience. It teaches life skills. Okay? Parang
Yeah, it's
ganun
kind
lang.
of sad that next to math, it feels like history is the one that's most stereotyped as an anxiety subject.
Yeah.
So yeah, as someone who actually likes history and not much math, and I have a brother who likes math and not much history, so you can understand. Anyway,
But
maybe you could add to that, Anton Pesa. Any final words for our guests?
may I ask? You gave a full question. I got lost in translation. So may I ask for the full question again?
Yeah. What do you want to say to as your last words? What can you say to the audience who may not be that interested in history to encourage them into taking more interest, and also for fellow history enthusiasts to encourage them in keeping that interest?
I think, what do you call that? It's pretty well. I was one of them before who really didn't like the concept of history classes, because we used to just do was we used to open the book. There's the general information, the date when the date when independence was
Mm-hmm.
proclaimed, when did Bonifacio die, when did this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened.
I like
So,
the history
but like, if you think
updates.
deeper than that, if and I think a lot of my teachers in high school did this, was they talk more about the person than rather than the general overview and the general scape. So when we think about it, people think that history is just about telling time, telling oh, what
Mm-hmm.
happened here, what happened there, what happened. It's about pinpointing. No, it's not. It's
It's like
really
studying a
a
calendar.
study. I see it as a study of a man, study of man, study of a community, study of
Mm-hmm.
society, and a study of an event. And the overall goal of it is supposed to be to gauge and to grasp a better understanding of the world, a better understanding
Mm-hmm.
that you might not find within yourself, you might not find in situations that you're that is every day, see every day, whether that be, when you look at the internet and stuff. That's what history is meant to be, just that area where you can actually help yourself grow. That's why we see Rizal and Bonifacio read a lot and read further into these stuff, because they knew that there was essential information for them to improve as people in terms of their perspective, but in terms of their own selves. Their because we can also think of their academic and their revolutionary knowledge and their mindset, but it also helped them as a person, knowing when to be, a person, but when to be a revolutionist in the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So gaya na sinabi ni Sir, well, I teach, I think once in 2 months, yeah, history class. What the main thing I do is I want to make sure the kids are really gauged towards the concept of, or they're able to judge the person rather than the event, like the whole book. Because if I just told them about the book, they'll just be absolutely bored. I understand that. Like, I related to it because my teacher was like, on June 12th, blah, 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 this thing happened. Oh, end of story, my quiz tayo. Then you get all scared. You're like, oh no, I need to memorize all the dates and stuff. What is important, I think, is we understand why this person became who he is. How did this person transcend his time, and how is he transcending our time now? That's the main thing. And for all the people who are not interested in history, just give it a try. That's why we like Crash Course. Crash Course is a very approachable channel because it talked about the person a bit more than usual. So try also, rather than delving into your textbooks, take the effort and take a little bit time to check YouTube videos about the people. Tell them to, try checking
Extra
some
history.
facts about them. It really makes you more engaged with these people because you're seeing them as people rather than as pedestals. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that, and it's a very controversial topic, but that's how I feel we can improve grade school, elementary history class in the future, talking more about giving a
Mm-hmm.
deeper exploration on the person rather than the general broad event. Pero there's a lot of layers and complexities to that because we don't have as much time. It's not like grade school is a history major and that we all talk about history, but we can focus a bit more about talking to the person. Who were they? What made them who they were? What were their flaws? But how were they able to counteract that with
Mm-hmm.
the good things that they were able to do? It's about understanding the general society and also understanding yourself because history is always ever so evolving. You find new things. There's new gatherings. There's new lessons that are coming up. That's why I always say. I said this to my friend. We also create history in our own minds. We have our own vision and idea of what history is to us, and that evolves as we go because there's a lot of things that we're collecting.
All right, so I think this is it to our audience today. I hope you are still very much awake. I know sometimes Sir Fiata's voice is very relaxing, so shake yourselves and join us in thanking these wonderful guests for their time. And if you enjoyed this, please make sure to share this with your friends. Show them what are they missing because this has been a great episode. So thank you very much. I think it is time for us to move on to 2 cents.
All right, that
All
was
right.
an amazing
Mm-hmm.
episode.
Share it with your
You know,
friends. Show them what you're missing, man.
I also remembered like Sir Fiatas was talking about experiencing history. I remember, I'm not sure if you were here already at that time, but he
It's
used
for
to
grade
bring a
seven.
full-on garrote.
Oh, oh, oh.
to in the classroom, and then like Jonas would go and say, "Sir, me," and he would be like, "Jonas, this is not for killing you. It's just to show you how it works." Okay, so he would bring things like that in the class, or like artifacts, like the uh artifacts from Ifugao or from Visayas, things like that, and he would let us you know see and feel the history. It's not just like, okay, this is the Budol statue from, you know, Banawe. You have to memorize when it started, things like that. That's boring history. But
Yeah, I like his.
Sir Fiatas made us feel it and see it. So I think that was a really nice chance for chance for us. So how about how did you feel about today's episode? Because personally, I was really hyped.
Yeah, I was actually very happy because I also love history, but normally I don't like. I like history as a subject, but sometimes not as a class. Because if you ask me to memorize a four-digit number for every significant event, I'd be like, can we talk about
Yeah, that's
why this is?
true.
So yeah, I was really hyped for this episode also. So I want to ask you what any like input now that we're done with the discussion. What did you get?
Well, I realized that there's a lot more to the heroes than we usually think.
Hmm.
Like we usually think, oh, history is dates and memorization. Oh no. So in this episode, I hope the viewers also got to learn that the heroes are people. They're people who wake up every day, who probably drink coffee, they drink water, they breathe air like us. And as Atom said, they're not a high pedestal that we can't reach.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You know, we might not be written down in the history books, we might not be studied 200 years from now, but we made history in our own little way. That's what I took away from this episode. That was my favorite insight. So how about you,
Yeah.
Miggy? What did you get
For
from
me,
this?
yeah, what I just think is the most important lesson is that while we some usually see the heroes as either mystical figures from the past or some headache-inducing topic for your test paper, or simply just putting them in some weird pedestal, what we should remember is that they are human, and we shouldn't really while yes, we could admire them, sometimes it's easy to fall into like hero worship and ignore or um like overlook their flaws. And okay, heads up, might get a tad borderline political in a minute. So I feel like this is also present with, you can see this current this hero worship in our current day heroes. And by current day heroes, I mean our politicians. We put them on a pedestal, and like um we love to show our full support because after all we voted for them. We don't want to think we were wrong. And so with that, while yes, fully supporting someone is great, is good, there's nothing wrong with that. Is there's also nothing wrong if the person starts making a mistake or showing any flaw. There's nothing wrong with feeling not okay with that. You know, because they're human also, and we should remember that. And instead of jumping in to defend their flaws for them to justify their mistake, you should if there's something wrong with speaking out against their mistake, because that's not showing less support, that's actually helping them be a better leader for you. And if you say that one person's support or one person's speaking out wouldn't really help, just like every vote matters, every voice matters even after the election. So that's it. Political commentary over. We could have the politics episode some other time, some other day.
I mean,
But
history,
also
politics,
politics overlap is
they
big.
they go together. But I
They
think
go
a lot
together. I
of
mean,
people think that politics is like a taboo topic. It's like, oh,
mhm,
you can't
mhm.
talk about politics. Oh, people are gonna, they're not never gonna be your friend if you talk about politics.
You talk about
So
politics, and you
yeah.
probably have to send the kids upstairs to talk amongst themselves while the
Mm-hmm.
adults shout in the kitchen.
Exactly. So yeah, but I think we learned a lot from this episode. It was very nice to see history in a different light, especially for maybe a lot of the viewers
Mm-hmm.
who were here. They think, oh, history, like the comments we saw earlier. Oh, history. I used to think it's like memorization, no learning, no fun subject. But I hope our this show changed your perspective on that.
All right. So almost time for us to say goodbye. But before that, I think I may have a short word of wisdom for you guys. So see you with that.
Let's roll the outro.
Uncle Iron. There should
All
be an
right,
episode
take it
where
away,
I
Miggy.
there should be an episode where I prepare some tea for this moment. Anyway, so this is actually a quick one because this is something I just recently learned like this week, which is straightforward. If you are experiencing difficult times for a moment, maybe it's actually just God trying to teach you the importance of prayer. I learned this because of my college applications. Before the entrance exam, I was like super nervous, like I was praying so hard, and then when I was taking the test in one part, I think I pretty much messed up. So I was so nervous. I was again I asked for people's prayers. I When I went to confession, I told the priest to pray for me and considering that. And then last Tuesday, my sister suddenly just said that because she's also taking the same college application process. So she suddenly showed up and said, "I already got the email. That I got to the next step." And I checked my email. I'm like, I'm not seeing anything. And I was super where I felt so down because this was my dream school, and I felt like I didn't pass. So I was praying. I was clutching this tiny crucifix that priest I mentioned earlier gave to me, and I was praying super hard. And my mom said, "Hey, maybe God's just trying to teach you how to pray. Who knows? Maybe the next day." Oh yeah, nice palm cross. Maybe the next day you will just find the email, and then the next day I looked into my folder, and there it was, and I'm like, yay! So basically, what I'm trying to say is sometimes if you're facing difficult experiences, it could just be God giving you an important lesson because don't forget difficult moments are actually just opportunities for you to better yourself and to better your relationship with God. And opportunities don't come very often, so don't waste them. So that was it. So before we say goodbye, quick announcement, and this is an important one. So please share this episode with your friends, maybe even just for this bit. Quick announcement. Since if you look at your calendars right now, December 24 and December 31 are both going to fall on a Friday. And so we are planning on maybe making a countdown for those nights, on those special nights with FortiKast. Now, the only way this would happen is with your help. So please go to the FortiKast site, bit.ly/FortiSite, and scroll down until you see these two images and click on either one of them. And then they will send you to a forms in which you could drop a file, a recording of you performing any talent, whatever that is. That could be singing, dancing, spoken poetry. You could make a time lapse drawing, whatever it is. Just send it there so we could have a stream together for the holidays. And for Christmas, you for Christmas and New Year, you could send any type of performance you want, but preferably for Christmas, make it Christmas themed. If you're gonna sing a Christmas song. And for New Year, again, even more so, you could give anything, but try to make it reflect on how you feel about this previous year and how you feel about the upcoming one. So that's it for the announcements. I hope to see you guys there. This has this has been an amazing episode. So thank you guys so much for sticking around. And with that, Virtus in Verdate, there is strength in virtue. This has been the FortiCast online show. Once again, bringing the Mariner community together and sharing good vibes. Next week, well, we'll see what we're gonna do next week. I think we have a plan. I just slipped my
The
mind. Alright,
surprise.
anyway, so with that, oh wait, whoopsie daisies! Shout out to our basically at this point I'm gonna assume new regular viewers. Um, My sister, Anton's sister, their basic barkada over there. Shout out to you guys. And with that, see you in the next episode. Stay safe. God bless. Fortuna Fabit Fortibus.
Bye.
Oh wait, I just remembered.